All right, what is up, y'all? So we are back with another episode of Brutally Simple Cooking. Now, salsa is freaking expensive. So what you need is a simple recipe with simple ingredients that's really easy to make and it tastes amazing. So if you're looking for a brutally simple roasted salsa recipe, this is for you. Now, I reached out to my homegirl, one of my sisters from another mister, Adriana, because she's one of the best real food cooks that I know. And she's Latino, and she makes amazing Mexican cuisine. So thank you, Adriana, for this recipe. Now remember what brutally simple cooking means. It means starting with real food first. A simple list of ingredients, simple process, and pro tip, mise en place, make sure you have everything in its place. Make sure you got everything that you need for the recipe so you're not having to stop the recipe and run to the store because you forgot something. Let's start with equipment first. You need a cutting board. Now I'm a huge fan, pro tip, I like big cutting boards. This is a carving board by OXO. You need a badass chef knife. Pro tip, we got a video on how to choose a chef knife. You need a blender or a food processor, and you need a baking vessel so you can use a roasting pan or a glass baking dish. My favorite is the stainless steel baking sheet. You'll also want a sheet of aluminum foil to roast the garlic. And then for real food ingredients, we've got the star of the show, tomatoes. So ideally, you're gonna have 2 tomatoes that are just regular sized tomatoes, about like tennis balls. I just happened to come across this really huge vine ripened heirloom tomato, and that's about 2 tomatoes. We're also gonna need 2 jalapeno peppers, a head of garlic, an onion, unrefined salt, black pepper. First, we're gonna preheat the oven to something kind of high. We're gonna go with 405. Why 405? Because everyone else recommends 400. And I like to do things differently. We're gonna cut the tomato into wedges. Now, pro tip to cut a tomato into wedges, you're gonna go straight down the core and then down the core again as many times as you want. You'll definitely wanna pop off the stem and leaf if there are any in there. And because these are so big, I'm gonna give it one more cut. All right, next we're gonna take the jalapenos and I'm just gonna cut the stems off. For the roasted garlic, we're gonna cut this head of garlic in half. And then we're going to place the garlic inside some tin foil so that it can steam. Now, pro tip, I try to keep the garlic heads, the cut side of the garlic facing up. Finally, we've got an onion. I'd say a quarter onion to a half an onion. If you really like the taste of onion, you can use the whole thing. Today, I'm just going to roast half of it. And then with the onions, make sure you cut off the root. And then I'm also gonna treat these like some onion wedges. And then just make sure everything is spaced out nice and evenly on your baking vessel. And then we're gonna bake this goodness for about 45 minutes to an hour. All right, now it's been about an hour, so anywhere from 45 minutes to an hour, and what you're looking for is you want those peppers nice and almost blackened and everything else looks nice and roasted. And then we're gonna let that cool for about 15 minutes so that we can handle the produce. Now there's a couple of things we wanna do before throwing everything into the blender or the food processor. Number one, we're gonna pull out the garlic. Oh yes, and look at that gorgeousness. All you gotta do for this roasted garlic is squeeze it out just like that. Now this recipe calls for 4 to 6 cloves of garlic, and since we've got it all roasted and mashed here, I'd say that's gonna be about 1 tablespoon to 2 tablespoons of roasted garlic, depending on how garlicky you like your salsa. Now also, we want to taste the jalapenos to see how spicy they are to determine whether we wanna use 1 whole jalapeno, 2 jalapenos, a half a jalapeno. Ooh, and that's pretty spicy, so I'm probably just gonna use 1. All right, now we're just gonna put everything in here. Throw in a heaping tablespoon of garlic. I'm gonna throw in 1 jalapeno, and then we're gonna wanna season it with some salt. I'd say maybe about 1 teaspoon to 2 teaspoons. Some black pepper, and we're gonna blend all that up. And then a good chef always tastes his food before he shares it with other people. Oh yeah, that's amazing. I'm just gonna blend it a little bit more. And then we're just gonna pour this into a bowl and look at that gorgeousness. All right, so there you have it, folks. Brutally simple roasted salsa. So the next time someone asks you if you got a salsa recipe, you can say yes.